Alright. See if I can see what I was doing. I was going to come out and film a video, whatever the right word would be. A little bit of the garden, and there was an osprey flying up there I was going to get, but I've lost him now, so we won't even worry about him. It would have been kind of cool to get that. But hey y'all, this is Rob, and just doing a quick garden update video. Last time we checked in on the garden, Greg was out here putting the plow to it, getting it all listed up for me. And since then, done some other stuff, got some things planted, some things growing. And of course, I can't hardly see the screen because of the glare. I got to figure that out, but kind of show you what's going on. I've done some work on the fence since then. I put in a bunch of T-posts to get the chicken wire up high. Out here, our biggest problem with predators is going to be not deer, unfortunately. That'd be kind of cool if we had so many deer they were actually getting into the garden. But here, probably won't ever see a deer, certainly not in my garden. But we will have rabbits, and of course the marauding chickens, if they can get in here. They're not worried about it yet. There's really nothing for them to get yet. Very dry out here. We hadn't had rain since about the 1st of September. I was cleaning out a water sprinkler. Let me go turn that off right quick, because that wasn't doing anything except just getting the dirt out of it, getting it moving again. Where are we? There we go. Turn that guy off. And good enough for that. Now, I'll show you what we got going. I just kind of planted hopscotch, hodgepodge. Every time I say that, I'm going to think of Yoshi over at Hodgepodge Garage, so there's a shout out for him. But just sort of hodgepodge mix up of things right now. One of the things I wanted to do, I had some seeds that I've had for a long time, and I wanted to plant some of them and just see if they'd come up. One of the things I planted was this package of Acorn Squash, or the Table Queen variety. And these were packed, yeah, like a lot of them I've got. I've got a bunch of packages. In fact, I think maybe all these that I've planted and had little or no luck with, these have been long enough, they should have come up by now, so they're not going to. But they were packaged for sale and use in 2011, which means they were put in the package in 2010. That makes them 8-year-old seeds. And in paper packages like that, even though I kept them sealed up in jars, not likely to do real good. Probably the same with these green beans here that I planted. These were, yeah, same thing for 2011. Put those back. Those actually I got out of 2 packages I planted. It looks like I've got maybe 4, maybe 5 that came up out of 2 whole packages. So how about that? Not great, but I've got more packages. I'll probably use them all up, just get them in the ground. Whatever comes up must be really good seeds and the ones I want to keep. Kind of the same thing over here with some other stuff I planted. I had some old pinto beans and cantaloupe seeds that I planted, and I've got 2 of the pintos that are up, and none of the cantaloupe, 3 of the pintos, 4 of the pintos that are up. Yay! And none of the cantaloupes, but the cantaloupes I think will come up, because down here on the other end, I planted some cantaloupes out of the same batch, I think, and got several that came up. And somebody's calling me, wouldn't you know it, as, let's see if it's an important call. Not real, but I'll call him back in just a minute. I think it's a friend of mine wanting to corrupt me and have me go out and do fun things with him instead of things I need to do, which I'm easily corrupted. Y'all don't know that. But anyway, we got cantaloupes that did sprout here. This is down here where I put those guys. Boy, this is aggravating that I can't see the screen. I'm going to put my hat over it and see if that'll help. It helps me see, but it doesn't help you see. Anyway, I've got several cantaloupes that have come up, and I'm looking forward to having some good cantaloupes this year, so hopefully so. I planted some zucchini right there, but I just planted those yesterday, so there won't be anything up. I planted these yellow beans down here, and kind of the same kind of deal. There weren't very many seeds in each package, but I got a total of 3 beans came up out of 2 packages, so unimpressive. I planted some old watermelons seeds. These were yellow meat watermelons I planted right here. Should have had one of them come up by now. Now it's still enough time, maybe one of them still will come up, but so far not yet. And then yesterday again, when I planted those zucchinis, I planted some red meat watermelons, and I know these are going to be good enough seeds, or at least reasonably good, because I planted 3 of them in some test pots up in my office, and so far 2 of them are starting to sprout, so that's a pretty good turnout. Walk down here to the other end. I planted some yellow squash. Again, these seeds were from 2012, which means they were probably, actually these seeds probably were packaged in 2012, maybe 2011. But for the yellow squash, I've had some fairly good luck. I don't even know how many seeds I planted because I wasn't being very scientific about it. I was just putting stuff in the ground because I was in a hurry, and so I stuck it in. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 for sure, and I think I see a 12th one trying to push through, so that's 11 squash plants. If all of those come up and make yellow squash, I'm going to be covered up with squash. That's a good thing. That'll make me happy. I'm ready for some fried squash. And then down here on the far end, I planted some pumpkin seeds. I don't even have a clue how old they were. They were old for sure. And so far, nothing has come up yet. Not the first one of them. But my youngest daughter, Sarah, came out. Hey, you know what? This might be the seeds I planted. Let's just see. Is this from that same 2011 batch? It was. 2000. Yep, same ones. So they got planted. See if I can block the wind off. My youngest daughter, Sarah, came out and planted some pumpkin seeds just 3 or 4 days ago, though. And looky what she got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I know there's one there that got covered up. 8, 9, 10 that I see that she got come up. So hooray for her. She did good. I'm happy for that. So Sarah's got pumpkins coming up. And then last but not least, down here for the plants. By the way, all this plastic pipe you see is from, this is the first time this garden has been planted or done anything with in about 6 or 7 years. I'd just been too busy, and it just seemed like I had more work stuff that I needed to do that was more important than gardening. That's still probably the case, but yet here I am because I just want some good garden stuff. Now, we did have our little garden up front that we used, that we grew some tomatoes, and we've actually had a couple of pretty good years of stuff up there. But the guy that runs our motel gave me some tomato plants and pepper plants that he had sprouted or hatched or planted in pots and gave them to me. And some of them did good, some of them didn't do real good. This guy right here was looking real good, but it ain't looking so good now. But anyway, I got a couple that are of these tomatoes. That one right there should be dead, but it's putting back out, so we'll keep watering it. This one looks real good. This may be my guy. These 2 right here, and then that one. So I got 3 really good ones. This one right here is still giving it the old college try. So we may get a tomato, and then I'll have more up front, and I'll put more back here because I've got a lot planted in cups in my office. And then we got peppers, and I have no clue what kind of peppers they are because he didn't know. So they might be bell peppers, they might be serranos, they might be jalapenos, they might be Anaheims. I don't know what they are, but we got some, and some of them are doing real good. And I only hope, I swear I can't see the screen on this hardly at all, so I'm only hoping that I'm actually showing something here. Now, something I've done here, and I used to do a lot, was take old carpet and I would lay out along the rows or between the rows, partly because it's easier to walk on. I like to come out here barefooted when I can. And partly to keep weeds down. When I put these in, the weeds don't grow and I don't have to cut weeds. And partly to keep the moisture in the soil. These right here cover the ground up, and if we get a good rain, then it'll get the ground wet and it'll stay in and it won't dry out as fast. And that's always a good thing for us. Now, something else I've done, you can see I've worked, this edge of the fence was bad right over here. Between weeds hitting it and things running into it, it was in awful shape. And so right here is the wide gate where tractors or whatever else can come in if we need to bring something big in. So I've got it kind of back up right now. And then down here I put an actual walk-through gate in. It's an old wooden gate that had got salvaged off somebody's fence we tore down years ago. And so I've got that in there now. And then right over here, what I'm doing is I'm building a place, because I'm thinking my dad is wanting to come out here. My dad's 85 years old, and he still loves to do this stuff. He used to spend as much time or more out here, along with my mom when we had her. They'd both be out here working in this, because it was, when we were kids, y'all don't maybe know this, but when we were kids, even though my dad was a school teacher, we didn't have much money. I mean, we really didn't have much money. But we never, ever, ever even came close to going hungry, and a lot of that was because we had a garden when we were kids. We lived in town, but there was a vacant lot across the alley from us, and the people that owned it said, yeah, knock yourself out. And so we kept a garden going, and we always had tons of food that came out of the garden, and we ate well. In fact, fresh garden stuff was terrific. Plus, we had chickens even then, and we had bees, so we always had honey, and I had rabbits that I raised. So we never went hungry. And then along with my dad and I hunting and fishing, you know, now it wasn't like we were destitute and bad, broke, poor, but we didn't have much money. But food was something we never worried about. So Dad, all that to say, my dad at 85 is still looking forward to coming out here and working in the garden. And one of the things I figure will be good is if he can get kind of under a shady spot. And so that's what I'm building there. I'm going to build a little, I don't even know what you'd call it, a gazebo, something with a roof over the top. And I'm going to use those spools right there as chairs and tables. And he can come out here and sit and kind of get out of the sun when he wants to. My dad's a pretty tough old dude. He, you know, but getting out of the sun is not going to be a bad thing for him. And with a little luck later on, we'll have some watermelon, cantaloupe, that kind of stuff we can break open on the makeshift table here, and be able to sit out here and kind of enjoy something good out in the garden. We hadn't done that in a long time. I've got great memories of this garden here when my girls were little. I mean, little. My dad would come out here. I'm going to have to work not to get sad here. My dad would come out here, and the girls would come out and work out in the garden here with him. But they didn't have to do a lot. They just kind of would help him plant or help him pull weeds or sometimes help pick the garden. But he would always bring out a cooler with orange soda pop, sometimes grape soda pop. And he'd bring cheese sticks, and he would bring Ritz crackers, and they would all sit out here and have a picnic. And when the garden was good, of course, they would sit out here and just, my girls, good grief, they used to would gorge themselves on the little, my family tomatoes, you know, the ones that I've told you about. They would sit there and just eat them until they couldn't hardly move, but it was great. But anyway, that's what's happening with the garden. We're making progress. I'll come back later with another update. I have no clue. I don't know if we've gone 2 minutes or 2 hours here, but that's what's going on. We hadn't had rain since September. I mentioned that. You can see back over to the southwest there. It looks like maybe west, if those clouds build up and keep moving the direction they're going, maybe west will get some rain out of that. My sister, a couple hours, well, about an hour south of here, might get some rain, but it's not looking good for us. But no surprise, that usually happens. There's a saying around here, it has to rain to the east of us for us to get the rain. Seems like it has to get wet down there for the humidity to back build over us and give us the rain. Anyway, that's the update, and thanks guys.